Audie Murphy, the most decorated man of World War II, who went on to become a movie star, was found dead this afternoon in the wreckage of a light plane in the hills of Virginia.
Have you ever thought about which Hollywood stars were the toughest? Not the men who faked fights on TV, but the real men who went through wars, fights, and danger before the cameras even started rolling. These guys were not acting. They were the real deal. You won't believe what you'll hear about number 7.
He lived life on the edge. He was a loner, defiant and unpredictable, but his screen magic, that you could depend on. And it made him one of the most popular stars of his day.
Steve McQueen. He raced under fake names because studios tried to stop him. Stick around, this countdown will blow your mind. Number 10. Audie Murphy. Audie Murphy didn't look like the kind of person who could scare an enemy. He was only 5 feet 5 inches tall and had a funny face. But behind that quiet look was the World War II soldier with the most decorations. He had won the Medal of Honor and 27 other awards by the time he was 21 years old. Historians say he killed between 240 and 300 enemy soldiers himself. Those numbers sound impossible until you learn they are based on facts. Movie makers didn't know what to do with him. Guards thought Murphy was fake when he showed up for his first screen test because he seemed too young and harmless. He looked too innocent to play a fighter, directors often said. It's funny that when he was in the movie To Hell and Back, which was based on his own war service, some of his real accomplishments were left out. They were afraid that people would not believe the truth. He never got over the war. Murphy had such bad dreams that he slept with a gun under his pillow. One of his second wives once said that when he woke up, he was a scary, tough fighter that no one could recognize. The need to stay alive was always there, even when they were just normal people. Sometime after a heated fight, a businessman admitted that Murphy's eyes made him know he was looking at a man who would kill without thinking twice. Audie Murphy never tried to be seen as a tough guy. He liked parts that were funny or romantic. Still, no other actor had more real scars, had fought more wars, or had beaten more enemies. He was, without a doubt, the most dangerous person who had ever been in a movie. And if you think that's hard, wait until you hear about Charles Bronson, the son of a coal miner who worked hard to become a Hollywood star. Number 9. Charles Bronson. It wasn't easy for Charles Bronson to grow up. At the age of 10, he was already working in the coal mines. He was one of 15 kids who lived in a small house in Pennsylvania. He had scars on his face and in his heart from the dust, the darkness, and the constant fight to stay alive. That worn-out look wasn't made up in Hollywood. It came from years of real suffering. When war came, Bronson joined the army. As a gunner on a B-29, he made 25 missions over Japan and survived dangers that killed many others. After being hurt in battle, he was given the Purple Heart, which showed that his ability to stay calm under fire wasn't just a movie character. He had more than 50 jobs after the war before Hollywood finally took notice of him. The directors saw right away that Bronson's punches didn't look like they were fake. It looked effective, cruel, and real. And it was. In movies like The Mechanic and Death Wish, his raw power made him a star. The mob once made threats against him because of Death Wish. Bodyguards were offered by the company, but Bronson turned them down. "I've lived too long and been through too much to worry about people like that," was his simple answer. He never put on a tough face for the cameras. He had to be tough because that's how life was. If you think Bronson's quiet, scary strength is impressive, wait until you see Lee Marvin. He took toughness to a whole new level by bringing real battle scars from the Pacific War straight to Hollywood. Number 8. Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin didn't become tough while working on movies. His battle honor earned it. He served in the bloody Battle of Saipan as a Marine sniper during World War II. He was hit by machine gun fire, which hurt his sciatic nerve and made him limp for life. He got the Purple Heart for his service. He never made it look cool. Marvin had the same rawness on TV. His violence felt different in movies like The Dirty Dozen, Point Blank, and The Big Red One. It was ugly, crude, and eerily real. Directors said he knew how violence worked because he had been through it himself. People believed Marvin when he threatened someone on TV. His co-stars did too. James Coburn once said that the mood changed when Marvin walked onto a set. People were in real danger. Marvin was known for being tough even when he wasn't on film. In Oregon, he got into a fight with a group of lumberjacks in his 40s and held his own until the police came. The next morning, he went to work, beat up but refusing medical help, and shot as planned. He was unique because he had both scars and smarts. He was a hard-drinking, fighting persona, but he was also thoughtful and often quoted literature and philosophy. Having been through the worst of war, he gave his acts a truth that could not be taught. And if Marvin brought the war to Hollywood, Steve McQueen, the daredevil who put his life at risk on set and behind the wheel, did the same thing in a whole different setting. Number 7. Steve McQueen. Life made Steve McQueen tough, not because he chose to be that way. He ran away when he was 14 and didn't come back until he joined the Marines when he was 17. His father had left him, and his stepfather had abused him. It was clear that he was defiant even there. During a drill in the Arctic, he saved 5 Marines whose tank fell into freezing water. He then spent 41 days in the brig. He was known for his bravery and resistance for the rest of his life. After getting out of the army, McQueen lived as a drifter until Hollywood found him. But his fame never made him less interested in danger. He was determined to do his own acts, like almost drowning in the sand pebbles and facing real fire in the towering inferno. But racing was all he could think about. He was a professional racer who often used fake names so that companies couldn't stop him. Even though he was driving with a cast on his foot, he came in second at Sebring in 1970. Mario Andretti said that Steve wasn't acting, he was the real deal. He was willing to take risks even in his personal life. He did not hire guards when the cops told him that Charles Manson had a list of people to kill. He always had a loaded Magnum with him. That was McQueen. Bold, careless, and real. He was cool in Hollywood because he lived it, not just talked about it. While McQueen looked for risk to get thrills, the next man on our list, Kirk Douglas, fought his way through poverty, war, and even close calls with death with a toughness that wouldn't give up. Number 6. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas came from very bad circumstances. As the son of poor Jewish immigrants, he grew up in a home where there was always hunger and toughness was needed to get by. He fell in love with wrestling because of this strong desire, and his skill won him a scholarship and the chance to get out of poverty. Douglas served in the Navy during World War II on a submarine hunter, a job that was always dangerous and had harsh conditions. He had to miss the game because of an injury, but the discipline and toughness he learned changed how he approached every task after that. Douglas became a great star in Hollywood. On movies like Spartacus, he got into fights with strong directors and insisted that everything he did be real. He was able to do stunts that would have stopped most actors in their tracks, and when he got back to the set, he was still ready to go. Even later in life, his strength still amazed everyone. 2 other people died in a helicopter crash in 1991, but he lived and fought through the pain to learn how to walk again. After many years, he had a terrible stroke that made it hard for him to speak. But after years of therapy, he got his voice back and was able to write books and go back to public speaking. Douglas was tough in all ways, including his body, mind, and emotions. It wasn't just his strength that made his job stand out. It was also his unwavering determination to keep going, even when things got hard. And if Douglas was the picture of toughness, James Cagney was one of Hollywood's most believable tough guys. He made his name with fast fists on the streets of New York. Number 5. James Cagney. In order to stay alive, James Cagney learned how to fight as a child on the rough streets of New York's Lower East Side. He learned to box as a way to protect himself because he was small but quick with his hands. That harsh environment made him faster, smarter, and more instinctive, making him one of the toughest men of his age. When Hollywood called, Cagney brought his tough charm to the big screen. His fight scenes in movies like The Public Enemy and White Heat were short, sharp, and tense. They stood out since they seemed real. He wasn't just hitting for show, he moved like he had been in real fights and knew how to wind them up quickly. Power and accuracy worked together in a way that made Cagney stand out. His training as a dancer gave him an ease that went well with his natural desire to fight. He was able to move with both explosive force and complete control, which made the aggressive parts he played more real. People weren't watching a man act. They were watching someone who could move to the beat of both the stage and the streets. He was just as tough off-screen as he was in his parts. People who worked with him looked up to him because they knew he had already proven himself in the past. He was hard to forget as an actor and as one of Hollywood's most dangerous men because of how tough, fast, and disciplined he was. And while Cagney was small and quick, the next name on our list, John Wayne, the Duke, was huge and had a lot of energy. He was known for being tough. Number 4. John Wayne. Before he became Hollywood's horse hero, John Wayne was the very definition of tough. He worked on farms as a child, both in California and Iowa, where he got strong and disciplined. Because he was 6 feet 4 inches tall, he was a great football player at the University of Southern California. But an injury stopped his playing days, and he turned to acting instead. Moving heavy props and acting as a stuntman were his first jobs. Because he was so big and strong, he could carry set pieces that normally took several guys. He kept up that work attitude when he became an actor. While making The Alamo, Wayne broke his ribs while doing a dangerous horse trick. He didn't take a break. Instead, he taped himself up and kept going. Wayne's toughness was put to the test outside of the set. He shot the Conqueror near a nuclear test site in Utah in 1956. After many years, many of the cast and crew, including Wayne, got cancer. He fought the disease head-on and had surgery in 1964 to remove a lung and several ribs. Most people would have quit, but Wayne went back to work, doing his own acts just a few months later. People who didn't agree with his views had to agree that he was the toughest person they had ever met. He worked through sickness, pain, and tiredness with the same determination that made his on-screen heroes great. Wayne wasn't pretending to be tough. He was tough all the time. He was Hollywood's big example of grit, but the next man was more dangerous in a quiet way. Robert Mitchum didn't want problems, but he had already had enough of them in his life. Number 3. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum was tough because he had a hard life before he got into Hollywood. As a kid, he was left without a parent. So during the Great Depression, he moved around the country as a hobo, taking trains and any work he could find. He worked in coal mines, dug ditches, and even boxed, where his broken nose became part of the tough look that would later make him famous on screen. It wasn't romantic to live on the road. While he was in jail for being homeless, Mitchum joined a violent Georgia chain gang. That gave him a view of hardship and bloodshed that most actors could only imagine. He brought that honesty with him when he finally made it into movies. On screen, Mitchum seemed tough without trying. His calm threat in Night of the Hunter was scary because it didn't feel like acting. It felt real. A lot of directors said that Mitchum wasn't trying to be tough. He just was. He was unshaken by even scandal. When he was caught with harmful substance in 1948, he didn't say a word, did his time, and went back to work as if nothing had happened. It made him look better instead of worse. Mitchum stood out because he was cool and strong at the same time. He didn't need to show off his confidence. That was already done for him by his life. While Mitchum easily portrayed danger, the next man, Anthony Quinn, exuded raw power and presence. He became tough through hard work, boxing rings, and a lifetime of grit. Number 2. Anthony Quinn. Anthony Quinn became tough through chaos. He was born in Mexico during the Revolution, and his family left violence and poverty to live in Los Angeles. Quinn was already working hard jobs for long hours when most kids were starting to read. Working hard not only built his body, but it also made him strong. As a youngster, Quinn turned to boxing to help his family, who were having a hard time. The fact that he lived with a broken nose showed that his fights were real. Unlike many artists who worked out at the gym, Quinn's strength came from having to carry, lift, and stay alive. He brought that honesty with him to Hollywood. In Zorba the Greek, he carried huge logs across a beach, which would usually take several men. It's just power, no tricks or doubles. Quinn kept on doing dangerous stunts himself even when he was in his 60s, showing that he was no less tough as time went on. Many times, directors said that he was different from other stars. His strength came from working hard in the real world, not from learning how to dance. Being able to show weakness on screen made him even more interesting. He didn't need to show off because he was sure of his strength. Quinn was both the fighter and the poet, the dreamer and the brawler. But even though Quinn was tough, the last man on this list, Charlton Heston, was almost superhumanly tough. His toughness on screen and in real life made him one of Hollywood's most famous heroes. Number 1. Charlton Heston. Even though Charlton Heston became famous for his epic parts, he was tough even before the cameras rolled. During World War II, he worked as a gunner in B-25 airplanes and had to deal with enemy fire and flak. That event made him the calm, determined man he became in Hollywood. Heston insisted on being real on set at all costs. He filmed the 10 Commandments in the Sinai Desert, where it was so hot that many crew members had to go to the hospital. In the movie Ben-Hur, he practiced for months to get good at chariot racing and did most of the dangerous moves himself. He almost fell off his chariot at one point, but he got back on and finished the scene. His strength was renowned. To paint the ceiling for the agony and the ecstasy, he hung from a platform for hours on end, painting until his arms hurt. His co-workers were amazed at how he could keep going when others just couldn't. They said his energy was almost human. Heston wasn't just tough on the outside, he also had moral bravery by marching with Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1960s and staying true to his beliefs even when they put him in danger. Directors often said that he was a hero in a way that went beyond acting, that the strength of his life and decisions matched the strength of his roles. Charlton Heston entered a time in Hollywood when being tough was more than just a show. His toughness showed that it was possible to be real, both on screen and in real life. Thanks for watching this journey through Hollywood's toughest legends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click the next video popping up on your screen. You won't want to miss it.